Україна має дуже великий потенціал, не тільки як сировинна база.
Ukraine has great potential. Our state can be more than just a raw material base. We can produce many finished products that are in high demand in Europe. We have all the prerequisites for that. Forests, fields, fertile land, bright minds and good, warm, hospitable people who are ready to give support and help in difficult times.
Яке допоможе у скрутний час.
We're showing by our example that in Ukraine it is possible to grow such a delicacy known as escargots in French. We Ukrainians have all the necessary resources for that. Mikhailov Demyan has a whole snail garden in the backyard of his house. There are 100,000 of these slimy creatures here. He built special homes for them, planted cabbage cultures, and set up a watering system. The fact is that it is much easier for them to move around and eat balanced feed in moisture. 10 years ago, everything started with 10 kilograms. They fit into a room with terrariums at home. In truth, everything started with an experimental taste test. My friends traveled around Europe. They brought a present for me when they returned. For some reason, I thought that it would be a magnet with some colorful image to put on my fridge, or some interesting knick-knack. I was wrong. They brought me a semi-finished snail product. They said they had tried it in Europe, and that it's healthy and delicious.
Сказали, що вони їли там в Європі, покуштували, воно дуже смачно, корисно, то все. Не скажу, що я зразу так...
I can't say I ate the snails right away.
Я так сходу кинувся і з'їв равлика, ні, неправда.
I had to prepare myself, as this exquisite delicacy is not very typical for Transcarpathia.
Для України, тим більше для Закарпаття, то що у нас...
Seeing as we already have a very rich international cuisine. But then I thought to myself that the French eat snails on a regular basis, and they eat them in large quantities, so why don't I try them? So I did, and I liked it. It was the classic dish called burgundy snail. It includes parsley and garlic, and it's absolutely delicious.
У нас на Україні, де б його купити можна, хто його виробляє. Мої рідні, звичайно, спочатку скептично ставилися до моєї ідеї, але,
Of course, my family was skeptical of my idea, but when it all started, they supported and helped me, though initially they were like, a farm is okay, sheep, goats, that's fine, but snails? And now they're looking up the process of snail cultivation on the internet, and most of my friends support me.
Як то так? Звичайно, що то спочатку такі настрої були. Зараз нічого, вже звикли, допомагають, підтримують.
All gastropods that have a shell are called snails. In ancient Egypt, they were a symbol of eternity and fertility. In Islam, of doubt. In Buddhism, of patience. Modern Europeans associate them with laziness, because according to the laws of natural selection, that which cannot run away is caught and eaten. By the way, the consumption of snails in the world amounts to over 150,000 tons annually. The largest importer of the delicacy is France. In this country, over 700 million mollusks are consumed every year, and the demand is not even satisfied. And since catching snails in all European Union countries except Malta and Crete is forbidden, wide horizons are opening for Ukrainian mollusks.
В основному в інтернеті яка інформація? Піти в ліс, насобирати 2-3 відра равликів.
Discussions on the internet are nothing short of ludicrous. They say you only have to go into the woods, collect a couple buckets of snails, put them in a fenced area, and the farm is ready. They grow in numbers pretty quickly, but that requires a lot of work. Specifically, the conditions must be created and feed for breeding must be selected. The caviar also requires certain temperature and humidity conditions for snails to hatch. They need to be constantly catered to, and the climate has to be adjusted. Also, an irrigation system must be set up, because the snails must be watered, as they need a certain level of humidity due to their anatomical structure.
Вишукувати, що для них краще, які умови, підбирати вже конкретно під клімат. Равлики люблять вологу. Вони не люблять спеку, коли сонячні.
Snails don't like hot days. They hide in the shadows and seek shelter. In addition to that, snails become more active after a good rainfall.
Після дощу, після того, як піде дощ.
While Demyan chose to farm garden snails, eats burgundy snails himself. His snails are still growing. He spent 2 seasons preparing the broodstock. He spent the 3rd season waiting for them to gain market weight, 25 grams. While the younglings are playing to catch me if you can, he says a kilogram of such crawlers costs 1,000 hryvnia in Ukraine.
Переважно у нас водиться на Україні виноградний равлик, якого не дуже раціонально.
In general, Burgundy snails are the most common in Ukraine, which are not rational to grow here on a farm.
Називається Helix aspersa Müller.
We grow Helix aspersa, which are much smaller than Burgundy snails and have a different color.
Нетиповий для виноградного. Ну, його дуже легко відрізнити. То є одне таке поняття, термін один такий.
There is the French term escargot, which applies to edible snails.
Escargot.
Both Burgundy snails and garden snails are edible.
Виноградний равлик, так і Müller.
There is no need to feel sympathy for snails and regret the fact that you are eating them. Shoemaker presented her large mollusk as the head of the Archetine project. This is the 2nd time this year that she organizes an exhibition of giant African snails in the Kyiv House of Nature. They grow quickly and breed fast, but they are not eatable, insists Lana. She gives her pets away for free, into good hands, so to speak. She also assures that those hands will be well looked after. These pets are really nice. Many have pet snails because cleaning the terrarium once a month is not that difficult. Snails have become a revelation for many parents as pets for their kids. Archettina immaculata are most often used in cosmetology. They have the richest mucus composition among all creatures. Accordingly, the procedure takes less time. A large amount of mucus, elastine, and the substance necessary for the cosmetic procedure. The ovum subspecies like this one has less mucus and is not used in cosmetology. Archettina are more impressive. I call them aristocrats. They don't like to be picked very often and will not live long if treated that way. Archettina are not edible. The ordinary Burgundy snails are edible, Helix pomatia. Those are the snails that breed quickly, so help yourselves. Africans will tell you that all snails are edible. The secret is you have to know how to prepare them. In Africa, gigantic Archettina are nothing other than a natural disaster. They destroy crops and even eat plaster off of house walls. So they're also eaten with garlic, ginger, pepper, wine, and no excess condiments. Snail meat contains a lot of protein, very little fat, carbohydrates, vitamins B6 and B12, iron, calcium, and magnesium. There are even snail diets for patients suffering from radiation sickness and anemia. In Europe, the Burgundy snail, Helix pomatia, is extremely popular. It is believed that its taste surpasses that of all other species. French recipe escargot de Bourgogne remains unsurpassed. Recently, Dominique Pierre found a way of salting snail eggs. Such caviar is called Aphrodite's pearl. The culinary revelation tastes like noble mushroom species. Over 7 years, the cost of such delicacy has increased from 40 to 350 euros per 50 grams.
Мюллера більш використовують в косметології.
But garden snails are also used in cosmetology. The mucus of the snails really has the spa effect, which is why cosmetologists give preference to them. What's also interesting, snails have 2 types of mucus.
Перший тип слизу, який має легеньку
The first type has a light concentration of tannins. It is produced to make it easier to crawl, as the very structure of their leg is very fragile.
Сама підошва ніжки дуже ніжна. Інший вже тип, другий тип слизу, який
The second mucus type contains a much greater concentration of all those substances.
Равлик його виділяє.
Snails produce it when their tissue is damaged. It is curative. They heal themselves with their mucus. It truly accelerates the process of wound healing.
Шкіри, рани. Тобто набагато швидше заживає поранення.
Such Archettina are used in spa procedures. They are placed on a person's face so that the snail can crawl over it and produce mucus.
По лицю, звичайно, що виділяють слиз, і от сама спа-процедура таким чином відбувається.
The exotic snail massage is relaxing. Excited by bright light and unfamiliar skin, they excrete mycelium, mucus that is effective in getting rid of acne and warts. Of course, it takes more than one procedure, but it's cheaper and more pleasant than other methods. And most importantly, it is much more natural. However, a so-called slow doctor must be ready to undertake such an operation. What's most important is that the snails are grown on farms. Hippocrates used snail mucus to treat burns as well as wounds that did not heal well. The quality of skin improved significantly after 8 to 12 sessions. Let us recall what it consists of: collagen, elastin, and proteins responsible for the healthy texture of our skin. Also, allantoin is an oxidant that prevents aging. And most importantly, bacteriophages, natural antibiotics with medicinal properties. Another interesting element is leptin, which gathers bacterial cells together, removes them from the skin, and even fights skin cancer. There was a boom about 3 years ago. The procedure was very popular. People even bought snails as house pets. But the trend declined because our mentality is more geared towards medication rather than natural treatment.
Медикаментозне якесь лікування, не медикаментозне втручання, аніж таке природне.
I don't know what Ukrainians are afraid of. I have no problem with eating snails. I like this dish. It's healthy food. There's almost no fat in snail meat. It's almost 100% protein.
Тим паче людям, які на дієті, наприклад. Тій людині їсти равлика, то взагалі супер. Молодому організму, який розвивається.
It's very good for young developing organisms like those in children. It's a fantastic supplier of energy. Eating 3 nails, a child gets an energy boost, and its stomach will not be overloaded. You don't need to eat a lot of snails in order to feel satisfied.
Шлунок не буде перенавантажений, то що страва з равликів, вона легка, вона ситна. Аби відчути ситість, не потрібно багато равлики з'їсти.
For example, when I'm very hungry, I can eat 10 to 12 snails.
За один раз 10-12 равликів. Чим наш український...
Are our Ukrainian snails worse than European snails? No, they're not. Our ecology is still fine, thank God. There are no pollution factors in Transcarpathia. If the product was grown in an ecologically clean region, and if it is fed with clean, nutritious food, then it's a tasty and healthy product. Oh, look how it crawled away. Over the past 3 years, Ukraine has increased the export of mollusks by 100 times. This is hard to believe, but we supply more snails than lard overseas. About 400 tons a year. Our main buyers are Lithuania, Poland, and Romania at a bargain price of $1 per kilogram. Raw material processing can increase the price to $4 or $5. There are already 10 snail farms operating on a full production cycle in Ukraine. On the domestic market, sales of this delicacy peak on holidays. In addition, snails are served in restaurants, and semi-finished products directly from the producers themselves can be found on supermarket shelves. Cleaned and stuffed, they cost 1,200 hryvnia per kilogram. The cooking recipe is under the strictest secrecy. Mikhailo Demyan took a different way, straight to France. Customers are already waiting there. These garden snails are ready for internal certification. Fortunately, the Transcarpathian land is ecologically clean and the climate is suitable. The application with all the necessary documents should be sent to Brussels. There, the Commission considers not just our application, but those of all Ukrainian producers. The plan is as follows: not next year, but even this year. The winter's hibernation for many inhabitants of this snail farm will end in a move abroad. Mikhailo Demyan is passionate about his idea, which means all is going according to his plan.